Hello. My name is Levell, and this is my commentary on this passage from the book Slaughterhouse 5. Yes, this is a time for me to waste time, but in this passage is basically about how after Billy gets into a car crash, his wife Valencia is rushing to the hospital to meet him. And then she ultimately dies in the car crash because she's rushing to meet him. What I noticed first about this entire paragraph is the first sentence and the last sentence, the action of the entire paragraph. The first sentence is here's how Billy Pilgrim lost his wife Valencia. And the last sentence is 1 hour later she was dead. So it's pretty safe to assume that throughout the entire passage he's explaining how Valencia came to an untimely end. I also noticed in the last sentence that says, "so it goes," which is usually what Vonnegut puts when something traumatic happens or something really bad happens and he can't really comprehend, he can't really handle it. So it's like, so it goes, because it doesn't really affect him because he knows there's better times because he's unstuck in time. So that is safe to assume that at some point Valencia's alive, healthy, and with him. So it doesn't really affect him whether or not she's dead now because she's alive in the past. Because he's unstuck in time and everything's happening at the same time. So her dead body is like at the limit. It's like the limit of where his memories of her. Throughout the entire passage, I found 2 cases of irony. The broadest case of irony is how Billy Pilgrim's in the hospital unconscious, and his wife Valencia is hurrying towards him in order to be by his side. Only to end up dying in the process. That's the first case, and that I call dramatic irony. Wonder why? Because the reader knows she's gonna die, because in the first sentence it says that Billy Pilgrim lost his wife Valencia, so we know she's gonna die. We know she's hurrying toward Billy, but we know she's gonna die at some point before getting to him, or by the time she gets to him. The second case of irony is how when she gets into a car crash, she doesn't actually die in the car crash. Her exhaust muffler comes off, her exhaust thing comes off, her exhaust engine. So she ends up dying of carbon monoxide. That's the second case of irony. That kind of irony is just irony. Because basically, it can be dramatic because we didn't know that would happen. It's not verbal because no one's saying anything. So, yeah, she died from that, even though she could have died from the car crash, which we almost would assume she would die in. Of this entire passage, I saw words like unconscious, vegetable, babble, hysterically, death. Yeah, and I associated all those words into one group. I associated those words into the accident trauma category, and I also made another category called hospital. I put words like doctor, nurse, and death, thank God, and carbon monoxide. These words reminded me of hospital. That's words you think of kind of when you put all the words together. I thought of a hospital. I couldn't really make any moral groups other than accident trauma and hospital. And it turns out those diction words were words that Vonnegut used on purpose in order to give the mood that it has now in the whole paragraph, the whole passage. I also noticed that Vonnegut uses the word thank God, but then he uses it again, thank God, thank God, thank God. He uses it 3 times. I feel like not only is he trying to mock the fact that God, he's like trying to mock God kind of in a way, because like God, because a lot of people say thank God when tragedy is avoided, but it turns out that even though she avoided that tragedy, she ended up dying anyways. So we can tell he doesn't really believe in God, and he's basically mocking God when he says thank God. And he's also Vonnegut is also pointing out the irony of it. Like before we find out she actually died from carbon monoxide, he's trying to point out the irony that by saying thank God, no one died in it, only for her to die later. I also noticed the words, going back to diction, I also noticed that the word heavy bomber, when explaining how her car sounds with the muffler removed. the whole heavy bomber thing could be a reference to the actual war, like him just putting that war reference into it. I think the whole heavy bombers are loud, and he referenced that to the car. Him always thinking about war in a way. I also found irony in the fact that how the doctor was like telling Valencia all this stuff about how Billy would be a vegetable, but it actually really turns out that Billy would live a long, pretty much long life, pretty much successful life after hearing after the accident he recovers, everything's good again. And his wife's hysterical. Even though Billy eventually would have gone home, he would have been good, and they both would have lived probably happy lives. I also find that ironic. I feel like the whole point of this entire passage is irony, because yeah, I feel like the whole thing is switched toward irony because all the examples of the irony. First, the doctor telling Billy that Billy's wife Valencia that he'll be a vegetable. Two, the fact that Valencia died on the way to Billy, who was dying. Third, the fact that Valencia gets in a car crash with another person and ultimately doesn't die from the car crash. He dies from exhaust. Thank God, thank God, thank God 3 times in order to mock God and to point out to the reader that yes, he did use irony in the passage. Yeah, and he also uses simile to describe the beaten up car. He uses the trunk and fenders were collapsed. The gaping trunk looked like the mouth of a village idiot who was explaining that he didn't know anything about anything. The fender shrugged. The bumper was at high port arms. Basically, he's not only using personification for the car, he's also using metaphors and similes in order to describe how the car looks, in order to better describe the scene to the reader, to better get his point of irony across. Yeah. Group and diction, but their group words, they're thank God, death, adore, dream, and azure. Those all deal with life and death. That group is life and death. And yeah, that's basically it for it. So like the whole thing is sort of toward irony. That's what I think about this entire passage, and that's it.